We do have some more breaking news to report. The man who killed a Fort Calhoun priest was sentenced to life in prison. First Alert 6, Philip Katafamo is live in Blair tonight. Philip, how is the family of Father Stephen Gutzel reacting to this sentencing?
Well, Jacqueline, Father Gutzel's sister Teresa Huff tells me the decision brings some relief tonight for the family, but said it is hard to forgive the actions of Kieri Williams on that day in December. Now, in December 2023, Williams stabbed Father Gutzel to death in his Fort Calhoun church rectory. Now, today, Teresa was joined by friends and family in the courtroom. However, Williams was not there. He submitted a waiver of appearance on Monday. The court accepted it today. Teresa told me she was disappointed to see Williams absent from the hearing, calling it cowardly. This afternoon, she read a letter to the courtroom discussing her brother's love for his parish and his faith. As part of the sentencing, Kieri Williams was not granted parole, a resolution that brings some relief to the community in Fort Calhoun. Reporting live in Blair, I'm Philip Katafamo, First Alert 6. Back to you, Jacqueline.